Oh, you already know who it is. It's Ron Time from Wrench-a-holics, and today we're back in the lab and we're just going to be picking up where we left off on the last video. So for today we're going to go ahead and fix the coolant lines to the turbo. We're going to redo the AN lines. We're going to go replace the engine bolt that broke for the mount. So we're going to be replacing both of those at the same time just to get that off the chest. And then we're going to go ahead and install the AVID Racing solid aluminum transmission mount so that we can properly secure the Cobra pipe when we go ahead and install that. So we got a lot to do today, so let's get to it. Still have that issue of having to fix that engine mount. The actual nut that is secured actually sheared off, so there is no nut on the bottom end of that bolt. So what I'm gonna have to do now is, since I have this place all open, I'm basically gonna have to raise the engine from either the transmission or the oil pan, but I'm leaning more towards the transmission. I'm gonna raise it up high enough to where I can slip the bolt out and then have to go get some replacements. I really don't want to have to end up putting this engine mount back in, but it's the only mount I have right now and I just don't want to have to wait. I just want to get my car back on the road. So we're going to be reusing this engine mount, even though it's pretty trash. Again, if you don't like the vibrations caused by this type of mount, or basically if you don't like vibrations at all, this is not the mount to get, because this thing vibrates like hell and everything in the car just vibrates. So loose change, your keys, yeah, basically anything and everything that can make some noise will make some noise, because these mounts suck ass. But anyways, I'm gonna go jack the car up, loosen up the bolt on the other mount because it's still there, and then raise the engine and hopefully be able to get this bolt and nut washer, lock washer set up fairly quickly. Alright, so we got the car up in the air, we're underneath it obviously, and so there you have it. This is the passenger side engine mount bolt. So I just took off the nut with the lock washer and washer, so we're all good to go there. So pretty much all I got to do now is raise the engine high enough to where I can slip these bolts out, relieve some of that pressure or the tension or the weight that's on the engine mount, so that I can cross-reference these bolts and hopefully get the replacements in. I'm gonna go to Ace Hardware and see if I can find some bolts. I contacted Circuit Sports. They told me it's a grade 12.9, so that's what I'm looking for. There was 2 threadings they gave me, so pretty much we're gonna have to take this bolt off and use it as a reference to make sure we get the correct bolt with the correct threading. I sort of want to keep it the same way from when I got it, so pretty much use the same hardware, grade and all that. So next we're gonna do is secure the engine, support it, and get this bolt out. Alright, so with the car in the air now, we have the jack underneath the transmission bell housing. What you see there is just dripping coolant, the remaining part. So what we're going to be doing is raising the engine with the jack, since I don't have a cherry picker, and we're going to raise it high enough so that I can get the bolts, well not the bolts, but the bolts loose enough to where I can get the bolts out, and then leave it in this position using the jack to support the weight so that I can go get these bolts along with the lock washer and all that. We're using the bolts as reference again, as mentioned before, because I want to keep it the same as what they were using when I got them, so that I can put this damn thing back together. We're going to be doing this first, and then we're going to drop the manifold down, because it's just one less thing I have to worry about with not a lot of stuff and space right here. So with the manifold out, I can fix this side a lot easier than having to do the driver's side, because I still have my intake manifold there, but it's one less thing I gotta worry about. So I'm gonna go ahead and jack it up, go from there, and hopefully I can fix this thing today. So one step closer, guys, one step closer. Here we are, top side. As you can see, the bolt, I already started to move it. What we're gonna do now is take the bolt off, passenger and driver side mount. We're gonna go get the replacements from Ace. Hopefully they don't let me down. They never have let me down. They have a very wide selection of bolts. So once I get everything and I confirm all the sizes. I will leave the information in the descriptions below so that if this does happen to you guys and you are using Circuit Sports or ISR solid mounts and you end up breaking the hardware, you can pretty much just use the information below to help you guys get back on the road. Alright guys, so unfortunately Ace Hardware did not have the bolt. They actually had it, but it was a M10 by a 1.5 by 80, and unfortunately that's too short of a bolt. So I am left with just having to order it online. So we're gonna go ahead and do that and just wait for it to come in. My last hope right now before ordering is my homie said that he might have these bolts, so hopefully he can get back to me before the day's over and I can get this thing done. But if not, I'll just have to order it. So but on the brighter side, I was able to get everything else that I needed, which was the lock washers, or the split washers, the regular washers, as well as the lock nut. So all I really need is just the 2 bolts. Alright guys, so we're just going to go ahead and continue taking off the ISR elbow. We went ahead and shot these up with some penetrating oil like WD-40 or liquid wrench. So we're just going to go ahead and take them off. They're 13s. They should be really easy. I broke all of them off, so yeah. So we're just going to go ahead and start taking them off. Again, it's a lot easier to do this thing off the car, but you can do it while it's still on the car. So that one I don't think I got. Alright. And then once you break these off, it's a good thing, or it's a good idea to go ahead and just clean off the threads. As you can see, once I take this off, I'm going to show you how rusty it can get over time. You can already hear it, cool. Alright, so let me see if I can show you these right now. So you can see right there the difference, like that is really rusty. So what you want to do is just give it a quick wire brush, clean them up, make sure everything's okay, because if you are going to reuse them, you don't want them to get damaged inside the turbo. Then you're going to have to take them out, like tap them or drill them out. So give it a one time with some you know, like a wire brush or something. Clean the threads. Also clean the threads on the housing too, with some WD or spray with some brake clean. Just clean it out while you're here. Save yourself the hassle of you having to worry about it. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. And then also, since you're down here, it's a good thing to go ahead and check your compressor wheels, or pretty much the turbines. Make sure you have no play in the shaft. Again, this is all like maintenance, you know, like if you're already here and you're doing, you might as well check it just to see where you're at as far as the life of your turbo. So I mean, I'm checking it right now, literally no play, so we're pretty good. I mean, that's great. So we still got some life in it. Again, maintenance, take care of it, it'll last a long time. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do that off camera because the battery is about to die. I'm gonna go charge it up, and then while I'm doing that, I'm just gonna go clean it up. You don't need to see me clean it up. That's nothing that I have to go over. But yeah, just clean them up. Alright, see you guys in a bit. Alright, so now that we got the turbo all out, took the elbow out, now we can actually do what we originally intended to do, was tying up these AN lines. Again, I don't know how it got loose, but they got loose, and I encountered a leak. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and retie in these AN lines, make sure everything is okay, and might as well, while we are down here, we're gonna go ahead and make sure that the oil feed line is also tightened, so that we can make sure and double check our work, so that when we install it, we don't run into the issue of having a leak again. So as you can see, it's really loose right here, and this is the one that got loose here. So and while I was taking it out, I found out that this was getting loose. So might as well just go ahead and re-tighten these, give it that one last check to make sure everything's good, and then we're gonna go ahead and proceed with installing it back on the car. But before we install that, as mentioned earlier in the video, we have an issue with my engine mount. I know it's a pretty shitty engine mount. It sucks, that polyurethane with a bolt going right through it. It's a really bad design. The car vibrates like hell. But yeah, I'm still gonna use it unless I can get the ones from the forum that I'm normally on. I'm hoping he still sells it. It's called Drift Freak. They're pretty good. A lot of people have them. My friend has it, and he said it's a pretty smooth engine mount. So I might go that route, but if not, I'm just gonna keep using these ones. Alright, so I removed the fitting from the line, and I noticed that for the first couple threads it was doing good, and then as I got more into it, it started getting hard. So I already assumed that it was gonna be stripped. So there you have it. I'm gonna go ahead and just reorder some 90-degree AN fittings, and since I'm here, I'm just gonna do both. I have enough line so that even if I had to cut off the connector end, I can go ahead and redo that AN fitting. So maybe I can show you guys that in the video when I do it, or when I receive the parts, the replacement parts, on how to do AN lines. So if you're planning, or if you are wondering how to do it, there you guys have it. So yeah, so right now we're at a standstill. I can't really do much. Kind of sucks. I wish I was able to just at least put everything back together, minus having the downpipe installed. I wish I was able to put everything back together, but you know what, since it's pretty much I'm just gonna be doing maintenance, I'm gonna just do everything all at once. Alright guys, so we just got back from Ace, and unfortunately they let me down the one time I really needed them not to. But anyways, they carried an 80 mil length bolt, but I need a 90 mil length bolt, so unfortunately I wasn't able to get the bolt, so I had to order that. But I went ahead and got everything else that I needed. I got some flange nuts, as well as split washers and regular washers. If you're going to be doing both sides, obviously you're going to have enough hardware to do two sides. If you're only doing one, then obviously you'll have extra. But for me, since I'm doing one already because it broke, I might as well just do both and put brand new hardware in it and call it a day. But since we're gonna have to wait for the bolt to come in, I'm gonna put this aside. Again, this is just one of the many things I gotta fix on the 240, and we can also tackle what we also need to fix. So again, if you guys remember, this is the coolant line to the turbo. I was getting a leak from the fitting end. I don't know what happened, but I'm gonna show you guys how to do a fitting end on an AN line, regardless if it's a nylon or a stainless steel. I am using the ISR nylon only because I like the black as opposed to the stainless steel silver. I just feel like the silver is too flashy, so I went with the black nylon. It does the same thing, but I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to remove it and also install brand new fitting end. Removing it's just an extra step, but if you have a fresh new line, or if you're making your own lines, then you can just pick up from where I'm starting to, put it together. Alright guys, so the first thing you want to do, if you're starting off with a pre-made line already, what you're going to want to do is remove the ends. So these are for those who are making or actually redoing the line if it got damaged. But if you're starting off and you have your own lines and you're putting on lines, then you can just skip this part. So the first thing you're going to want to do is remove the fitting end part, and it's as easy as just twisting off. You're going to have to put some counter traction, so as you twist off, you're going to want to pull that way so that you can release the fitting. So always just twist and pull at the same time, and then you can start to see it separating. It's starting to fray already. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off and then get back to you. So just a couple turns and we're able to take it off. So now what we're gonna do now is prepare the line so that we can cut the line and have a brand new end. So basically I have enough line to do this one time. So if this thing were to leak again in the distant future, I'm hoping, because I'm fixing it. I'm gonna have to buy a brand new -6 line, only because when you do this, you're gonna actually shorten the line every single time you repair the line. So with that being said, this is probably gonna be, if not the only time I can repair this line. And again, in the distant future, if this thing were to leak again, I'm gonna have to buy a brand new roll of line and redo the process, but just be, you know, starting off from scratch. So what you're gonna do now is, as you can see, when you remove it, you can't use this end anymore because now the nylon, and if you are using stainless steel, it's gonna fray as you remove it. So at this point, this thing is pretty much trash. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna put some either electrical tape or duct tape, and you're just gonna put it where you're gonna cut the line. So we're gonna basically put it line to line, make sure we get as close as we can to the part that is frayed, and then we're gonna cut the line. There's line cutters, so you can use like a tube cutter. It's a lot easier. It's a one-time job. I've seen people use like a cutoff wheel that works as two, but if you are using a cutoff wheel, you just have to make sure you flush the line with like water or whatever. Remember, it's a coolant line, so you can run water through the line. It's okay, guys. Or coolant, and you want to make sure you clear out the line from any of the debris that might get stuck in it when you are using the cutoff wheel. Again, the cutoff wheel is not recommended, but it's a lot better than using scissors because there's no way you're gonna get the flush cut that you want. I've got some just standard electrical tape. What I'm gonna do is basically get this line right here, or the edge of the tape, to line up to where the nylon was starting to fray. The thicker the better when you do this. It's kind of hard to see black on black, but you guys get the idea, the concept. So I'm gonna try cutting right on the line. I wanted to do in the center, but let's try cutting on the line. The worst thing that happens is I just cut in the middle, right? So I'm gonna try to cut on the line and see how that looks like. And if it's good enough to insert without having all the fraying part mess me up while I'm doing this, then we're good to go. But if not, then I'm just gonna go ahead and drop the cut and cut off probably like another 5 centimeters, and just cut down here and make sure that cut is good too. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this off camera because I just don't have the setup on my table. So I'm gonna cut this off camera and then show you the result. And I'm hoping it's a good one, so let's get it. Alright guys, so we just finished the cut. This right here is where I cut the fitting, and this is the end on the line itself. It looks pretty good, so I'm gonna see if I can start to thread it onto the fitting end, onto the brand new 90-degree fitting here. So I'm gonna start to see if I can thread it. If it goes through good, then we're one step closer to fixing it. If not, then I'm gonna go ahead and drop the cut and go from there. So let's take off the tape and see how it looks like. Not bad. I mean, there's a little bit of fraying, but if we can get it into the fitting end here, we are good. So let me try it. So I mean, you can see a little bit of the fraying, but let me try it, and hopefully if it goes well, we're good to go. Again, remember guys, before you install it, you want to run some water or coolant, whatever, with some compressed air in here to get out any of the debris that got stuck in here as you're cutting it. If you're using a cutoff wheel, if you're using that little tube cutter deal, then you should be alright. If you're using the cutoff wheel, then you're gonna have some debris in here. You're just gonna make sure you flush it out and clean it before you install it. Don't forget to wear your earplugs. This thing gets loud. You want to work smarter, not harder, right? And also protect yourself. This is the brand new one, so what you want to do is you're gonna rotate this portion here off. It should come off easy. If you have any type of friction or any type of pushback from uninstalling this, then potentially what you got was a bunk line and the threadings are already messed up. So you don't want to install that because you can have a leak. So this is the brand new one. The fitting in, what you're going to do is you're going to put it right here. Try to get all these threadings in and rotate clockwise. And as you rotate, you want to push inward, as opposed to when you're taking off, you want to pull outward. As you're installing it, you want to push inward. So I'm going to do that off camera just because I don't have enough space here. So there you guys have it. That is the finished part of the end that goes onto the AN line. And now all we have to do is thread in the 90-degree onto the line. Finally got the bolts. I was just waiting for it. I was watching the tracking. It said it was going to arrive today, which was one day earlier than expected. So this is great for us. Alright, so we're back underneath the car. There's the bolt fully installed now. All we got to do is put the lock washer, split washer, and the nut on this end, and we're good to go. Then we're going to go ahead and transfer over to the passenger side, and that part of the fix is done. So pretty easy. Again, we're jacking it up using the bell housing, and there she is. So alright guys, just one more and we're done. Next we're going to go ahead and tackle the trans mount so that I can get the proper bracket in order to hold up the Cobra pipe so that my downpipe doesn't drag. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing that we did for the engine. We're going to go ahead and support the transmission with the bell housing. So either the original point where we did for when we did the engine mounts, or we're going to go further down. It really doesn't matter. You just want to support the transmission. I went ahead and found this piece. I don't know if they're still around, but this right here is the AVID Racing solid aluminum transmission mount. Again, this is probably going to be even more worse, or probably detrimental to my well-being as far as vibration goes, because this is probably going to vibrate the hell out of my car. But again, the reason why I went with this, only because this one allows me to run the downpipe bracket. So again, see these two bolts here? These two bolts here are missing from here. Again, that's the only reason why I'm swapping these out. It's still functional. I really like it a lot, but I need to save the downpipe as I don't want to damage it. Alright, so we got the ISR or Circuit Sports poly mount off. Fairly simple. The thing now is that we're going to go ahead and swap on the AVID Racing solid aluminum piece onto the transmission crossmember. The only thing is that these bolts right here are a little bit bigger in size than what you have here. So we're just going to make these a little bit bigger. I'm just going to use a drill, make the holes a little bit bigger so that we can go ahead and fit these in. Alright, I think that should do it. I'm gonna go check it out and see if it works on the actual mount. Alright guys, so just to keep you up to speed, we had to drill out the holes on the OEM trans mount. They were too small in diameter for the actual mounts here. So we just enlarged the holes here. It fits, I already tested it. But when you install it, go ahead and install the rubber insulator, and then you want to install the actual mount. With that being said, I sort of have the feeling I'm missing a part or a piece. Probably missing a rubber insulator that goes in between the transmission and the actual mount itself. With it being solid, I know for sure this thing will just vibrate like crazy, especially if it's solid on solid without any type of insulator. So I will have to figure that out. Probably just gonna get a nice piece of rubber and then cut it out so that it's the same size and then put it on. But I gotta figure that out because I don't have it. So, but I've been trying to search online and it's just showing this piece. So I don't know if that's all I need. If you guys do have the AVID Racing one, it's an AVID Racing solid billet aluminum trans mount for the 240SX. If you guys have that, just write in the comments below to see if you guys did have an insulator between the actual transmission and the mount itself, because I do have the insulator from the transmission mount to the cross member, so that's no biggie. But till then, I'm gonna go ahead and figure that out. I know it's kind of long. This video is just me, jamming out and working on things that are broken on the 240, like what else is new. But I'm gonna go ahead and cut it off here, because once I figure this out, then we're gonna go ahead and be prepped out to install the Cobra pipe. So that will be on the next video. Alright guys, so we finally got it, everything mounted up. I was having issues with the cross member not lining up. So I was able to get those two bolts seated. this bolt seated, but I was having trouble with this one right here. So I went online, and apparently this is a common issue. You'll get 3 out of the 4 bolts lined up, and then you'll always have one bolt where it's super hard to get it seated. So what I did, hopefully this might work for you guys. My cross member was misaligned, and it was going in that direction towards the exhaust. So what I did was I was able to get a pry bar. You're gonna use the flat side of the pry bar right here. So that flat side, and there's a little pocket right here where the bolt goes through from where the transmission bolts up to the mount, and I put it right here, and I basically was able to pull down, putting counter traction on the transmission and pulling the cross member towards the front of the car, and I was able to get this thing lined up. I had some homies help me out just because, you know, with a one-man show here, it's kind of hard. I don't have the leverage as far as trying to do this and getting the bolt all lined up, so it can be hard. So you know, it's nice to have some homies that are down to help you out. But yeah, so everything's all buttoned up. Now I gotta do is just torque them all down. Again, don't forget to tighten up the engine mounts as well, because I had to loosen those too in order to get the wiggle room and all that to make sure everything worked out. So yeah, don't forget to do that, and we're all good to go. Alright guys, so that is it. We finally finished what we needed to do as far as the maintenance part, replacing the coolant leaks. That's the reason why we're here. So we went ahead and replaced the coolant lines. So you guys had to do that AN line, the fitting end, and also replacing the engine bolts. Take that off the list, and as well as putting that brand new AVID Racing solid aluminum transmission mount. So for the next video, we're gonna go ahead and install the Cobra downpipe, the Tomei titanium test pipe, and just keep on trucking. We got a lot to do, and then I gotta fix some little things here and there to make sure it's roadworthy. So thank you guys for watching, and for my day ones out there, you already know what time it is. Hype is for the moment, and style is forever. Deuces.